Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from, and welcome to BSides Delhi 2020 in a virtual world, just like everything else in 2020. So obviously, why are we doing a virtual edition? I think we can. I think we know the answer to that. Really, we're all stuck in our homes and stuck in our small bubbles and virtual offices, etc. But the B-sides spirit lives on, and we've not taken sponsorship this year. As we normally do, as we didn't want to, as we didn't need to pull off a free virtual event for the community. But we would like to thank supporters and other sponsors, but from both previous events and hopefully future events. More importantly, so supporters such as ESEC Forte, Publicist Resources, Nullcon, Checkmarks, Not So Secure, Tufin, RAH, Infotech, to name just a few. We would specifically like to call out ESEC Forte and Nullcon for their continued support. As you know, we've had some events that have been running over the last couple of days already. Not even most notably, but something we're going to come to in a minute, the CFP. The CFP review panel, actually, the people who actually reviewed all of the submissions for talks, would like to thank them for their time and efforts. That's Asim from Payatu, Mario from Cure 53, Vicky Ray from the Palo Alto Unit 42. So thank you very much for your time and effort in deciding who we will get to see over the next couple of days. So what have we got lined up? Well, obviously, we've got lots and lots of talks. We've had some workshops and the CTF that I mentioned earlier. So we've had workshops the last couple of days. We've had, and I'm reading from a list here, so excuse me, defending Docker implementations, analyzing programs through dynamic instrumentation with QBDI, and introduction to malware reverse engineering. We've also had reverse engineering malwares targeting top routinely exploited vulnerabilities, finding security vulnerabilities, and cyber war ops training, red and blue team joint operations. So some pretty serious stuff going on there. I mean, I didn't even understand half of it, and that was just the titles. So thank you very much for those of you who were running those workshops, and I hear they went off very, very successfully. We also ran a CTF, which ran for 11 hours on the 10th of October, and we have 3 winning teams. So we have at number 3, Warlock Roots. At number 2, Zahiro, that's 0 with an H, a 3 and a 0, of course. We're InfoSec. We like to speak like that. And in first place, the team of HCS. So congratulations, all the teams who involved, and specifically those 3. Let's see, some housekeeping questions. Obviously, we don't have to worry about fire alarms or anything like that, but during all of our sessions today, if you have questions that you want to ask during the session that hopefully we can answer, or hopefully we can get the speaker in question to answer, then put them in the YouTube chat, which I believe is just to the right of your screen, or right here, I think, if that's about right. So put them in the YouTube chat. There will be Q&A at the end, and it's my job to try and collate those questions and see if we can put them to the speakers within the timeframes of the talk. For general chatter, please head to the Slack channel. Details will be on the BSides Delhi website. There will be a 5-minute gap between each talk, so you've got time to get yourself the all-important cup of tea in between each talk. And there will be a couple of slightly longer breaks as well. And that's it for housekeeping. That's it for the introduction. Now, like every good conference, things go wrong at the last minute. So we have a change to the published schedule. And the first up for the first, now 25 minutes, because I've rattled on long enough, I'm going to be having a conversation with a well-known contributor to the InfoSec community. He has been an organizer of BSides London. He runs his own YouTube channels and blog sites, well known. He advertised the CISSP, CISP, in his early days and then rebranded along with two other folks, the CISP into the CISSP. Very well known around the world, very influential. And I'm proud to say he's a very close someone I happen to know. So please let me bring onto stage Mr. Javvad Malik.
Hello, Thom.
Look at that. Hello. It's like it's magic. There's people behind pulling all the strings and making the screens work and everything. So, Jav, how are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks. I'm very good. You know, just adjusting to life in lockdown. Slowly, my room's been converted into a man den. So everything I need for life is in here. I think I can live in this room for 3 months if need be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just energy bars in the cupboards, right? That's all we need. Absolutely. Good. So, as many of people who are watching this will know, Jav and I have known each other for many, many years. We've both been parts of various sort of communities, and what we want to talk about today is actually the importance of community. BSides is a community event. It's driven by, created, managed by a community of people, and it's delivered to the InfoSec community. It's not commercially driven. It doesn't have an agenda outside of education and inclusiveness. It's not just a conference in reality. It's almost a movement. So, Javvad, what does BSides mean to you?
Yeah, so as you said, I was involved in setting up the first BSides London, which this year it was cancelled, unfortunately, in London because of the lockdown, but it would have been its 10th year. So it was 10 years ago that we started it off. And when I started it, when I was involved in starting it, it wasn't just me, there was a whole team of us. I really thought, well, this is just another conference we're doing, and these are talks that maybe are a bit fringe, or they're not going to get accepted to the bigger conferences, so we'll just host them here. But it's not about the talks for me at all. It's really about that community. It allows you to meet people, to get to know people, to network with them, and to really share ideas in an awesome way. And through that, you actually get really stronger. And I'll sort of joke slightly at your expense here, Thom, that you got it. For my brothers and sisters there, they'll understand what I'm talking about.
Thanks, mate.
Communities are sort of like a strange thing that you have to develop, but the Asian community is a community, and especially when in the UK, where I've been born and brought up, it's a very strong community. And there's been so many things growing up that have help from like my parents' generation, and who came over, they were first generation immigrants, and they bounded together and they helped each other so much. And I think everyone's life is so much richer because of that. And what you find is that it doesn't matter where someone's from, it doesn't matter their background, their education, their religious beliefs, or what have you. But what happens is that people connect on that intellectual level, and that's what forms a community. Is that it breaks down all those boundaries of race and religion and geography as well. This is what I think something like BSides or the security community really enables you to do. And I think you're aware as well that you can travel almost anywhere in the world, and you can say, hey, I'm here, and you can connect with the local security community, and it really makes you feel like it's a home away from home. And it's such a powerful thing. So that's why seeing things like B-sides all around the world crop up, like here, I think it's something we shouldn't take for granted. It's something we really need to work on because it's such a fantastic opportunity.
No, absolutely, and I think the culture of B-sides as well. What it does, it's not a generic conference that seems to just travel around the world. It's a conference that actually absorbs the culture in which it's hosted. If you go to a B-sides in San Francisco or Las Vegas versus the B-sides in London and versus the B-sides in Delhi, they're very different conferences. Sure, they have a common framework underneath, but they are imbued really heavily with the local culture. And that's the beauty of B-sides, is that actually it's flexible enough to embrace a local community and help build its local community, rather than just trying to say, you need to be like us in this country where it started.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I think it's so important for people to understand is that what you're building here is not to emulate anyone else. Don't try to be like anyone else. You own it and bring your own richness and value to it, because that's something that is nowhere else in the world. And I think if you try to imitate someone else, then you're just going to be a cheap copy. But you want to be your own original self, and there's so much value in it. And it's one of those things, and Thom knows because he's a lot older than me and most of everyone. I call him Uncle Thom most of the time. But
hey, Uncle, there's respect there.
There's respect there, yes. It's one of those things where I lost my train of thought. As you get older, you realize I completely lost what I was saying there. I'm so funny that I just forgot what I was saying. What was I saying, Thom?
We got you on here because you're a professional, Jav, but
yes,
apparently we were mistaken.
I completely screwed
I tell you
up.
what, let's move on. I mean, let's talk about some of the key parts of how you can be a part of the community and why it's important. We've obviously chatted about this before. We talk about this, we chat virtually every day anyway, you and me. But when we're talking seriously and not just telling each other jokes, but we're talking about the power of the community. What are some of the things that the actionable things that people out there could actually do? That they can actually. I want to play a bigger part in this community. I want to do more. I want to whatever. What are some of the things that we can actually, do today, do tomorrow?
So I think the first thing to bear in mind is that communities typically, they're not like your government. There's not a leader and a structure and followers, or like an organization. It's not like that. I think everyone equally needs to recognize that you can play a part, an active part, and you can shape and mold it. You don't need to wait for permission or go through approval processes to do stuff. So I think one is a thing of self-empowerment. So if you see something that you think, this isn't working very well, then don't try to write a petition to whoever you think is in charge of stuff to do it. Just say, okay, what's my plan? How am I going to go about it? What are things we need? And then go to people and say, hey, this is what I'm doing. Let's make this happen. And as long as it's for the benefit, it's not something that's detrimental to people. It's not something that's disrespectful or something. People will help you. You'll find your supporters. You build your tribe. So I think number one is taking that ownership, taking that being empowered and taking accountability of it. I think it's also important that you invest within the community. And that means that you don't just show up once a year to a B-sides and listen to some talks and go home and think that you're part of it. I mean, that's fine for some people, but you really need to be an active member within these discussions, and you need to put forward ideas. And it doesn't mean you have to spend 10 hours a week on this or anything like that. It just means it just means you're there when it matters, and you support the people who need it. And you reach out to others, and you share the ideas, and you facilitate things that happen. I mean, this is really how it all works. This is how it all comes together, and this is where you really get the value from.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, the power of the community is, or something like BSides Delhi, there are a few sort of headline people. Of course there are, and we'll certainly be mentioning them and thanking them up through the course of the 2 days. But and it takes a lot of effort to do that. You say 10 hours a week. Well, actually, probably in the last few weeks, these people have probably been putting in about 30 or 40 hours a week plus their day jobs, right? But and it's great that we have people, and we're really thankful that we have people that are dedicated and passionate enough to do that. And there are benefits that come with that as well, obviously. But there are such small parts that people can play. The example I often give is, okay, so you might be very new to security. You might not have any, enough experience, or at least you think you don't have enough experience to contribute to a talk or whatever, but you can still volunteer. You can still volunteer to, in a real event, to set out the chairs, to organize the catering, to do everything like that. If you're a photographer, if you like photographer, then be the B-Sides photographer. It doesn't even have to be InfoSec related. You're contributing to the event, etc. But the other benefits are the people you will meet during the process of that organization. And actually, frankly, the seniority, if that's the right word, the seniority in the InfoSec industry that you will come across and be treated as an equal, and be, and have access to that person's, advice and thoughts, etc., will be unparalleled to virtually any other activity you could carry out.
Yeah, exactly. And I when I first met Thom, I didn't think he'd ever treat me as an equal, but hey, today he does. And
well, maybe in about a year or so. I don't know. When you're up to standard.
Yes. Well, once you could stop getting me to carry your bags. No, but
I have a lot of bags.
Yeah, very expensive bags. But no, you're right. Going to this place. So I don't know if you were part of that, Thom, but after the first B-Sides London, where a few of us actually, you get to know people, and you just get to know which people you like as friends as well, or who you want to hang out with. And there was a group of about 10, 12 of us. We'd ended up meeting up like, just maybe once or twice a year outside of any conference, just for a dinner or something like that. And it became such a good thing. And over the years, I mean, this was I'm talking about 10 years ago, nearly all of those people have progressed in their careers. They're at senior places and what have you. And today I know if I need anything about anything, just 2 days ago, I needed some help with some 3D printing project. And I got in touch with someone who's the head of security at a 3D printing. They have their own big lab there. And I said, hey, mate, working on this. And he goes, oh, yes, no problem. Ask them to send me the file, drop my name, and I'll get this printed and shipped off to you. And today it seems like, oh, you're so lucky, you're well connected. But it's not luck. It's something you work on over a long, long period of time.
No, exactly. And in fact, we were talking before that I met you. It was actually at the second B-Sides.
Yeah.
It was the first time I spoke at B-Sides. In fact, it was the first time you spoke at B-Sides as well. And we started to hang out and get to know each other. And as a result, and as I said, setting up an event like this, you're always thrown a few surprises last minute and a few speaker cancellations. But I knew I was able to get on the phone to you and say, hey, Jav, can you help us open the conference tomorrow, less than 24 hours notice? And thankfully you said yes. Obviously our first choice, of person that I contacted couldn't make it. So, and second, third, fourth, and we finally landed with you, but I'm joking, by the way, folks. But the point is, actually, as you say, it seems like almost luck, or, oh yeah, look at you, you're so well connected. But actually it's through events like this, it's through connecting with people and communicating with people and all that sort of stuff, and actually generating that network that's important. One thing I want to talk about is the community is not just B-Sides. the community is everything else around it. What are some of the activities, again, folks who are in the audience, what are some of the activities that people could actually, potentially do, or just a few simple steps that people can do to help not only contribute to the community, but feel like they are part of it?
Personally, my biggest thing that I found has worked for me, and I've been doing it for like 12, 14 years, is set up your own blog somewhere and share your thoughts. And
Yes.
And don't ever think that your thoughts aren't valuable. Even if, say, this is your first time attending a conference and you're at BSides for the first time, write down how you felt. Say, first time, I had no idea what to expect. I was nervous. This was good. This was bad. I will or won't be going back next year. And just put that down as a blog. You will find so many people will read that and say, you know what, I felt exactly the same way. Yes. Or maybe one of the organizers will read it, or maybe one of the speakers will read it and say, hey, thanks for that feedback. That was really good. Let's have a discussion. Let's catch up, what have you.
Yeah.
And the more you do that, so I really believe it in it's just so cheap, and there's really only the time investment is needed in, you can set up your own blog, you can create a podcast with a couple of other people, you can record a video on your phone and you can post it on YouTube or social media or of some sort. But I think like the more you give out, the more you'll start getting back in return. And what you will start figuring out is things that you're good at and things that you're passionate about. And that will really help. I mean, I started like making YouTube videos about 11 years ago or something. And it was only because I just really enjoyed watching YouTube back in the time. And I thought, oh, let me start making some videos that are comedic or just a bit chilled out, but talk about information security in certain ways. And that alone opened so many doors for me, because people got to know me and they'd send me feedback. Even if it was like, hey, you were completely wrong in that video, I'd be like, oh, okay, thanks for that. Can you help me learn how, or point me in how I get better at that? So I think sharing information is I think one of the key things.
But I think again, one thing here is you're absolutely right, because one, I think the actual process of writing a blog or creating a video or making, building some kind of content, creating something, allows you to formulate your own opinions about things and allows you to formulate your own thoughts. That doesn't mean that they're set in stone. It doesn't mean that they can't be, wrong or just not right. But it allows you to actually formulate those thoughts and order those thoughts in your head and actually realize where it is that you stand on certain subjects, be it encryption, vulnerability testing, risk, or even business continuity. It doesn't matter what it is. But the flip side, and again, something we've spoken about before, is it's about the quality of that content you're producing, not the quantity. Whilst it's, there's a certain truth to just write it and get it out, actually try and put a bit more thought into it and not worry about how big your audience might be, for instance. And I'm sure that's something you found early on as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's what you're looking at is there's a world of technology. And then within technology, there's information security. And then with information security, there's a specific field that you're interested in or you're good at. So it's always going to be a very small fishbowl that you're operating in. But that's good. Yes. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's not an industry where you're going to get millions and millions of viewers on your videos or podcast downloads. But that's not what that shouldn't be the metric which you're measuring by success by. It's all about quality, as opposed to quantity. And again, going back to the regional aspects of it, there are so many smart people all around the world. We shouldn't always just blindly rest and rely on some company sitting in Silicon Valley to tell us what is right and what is wrong or how we should be doing security, because they don't understand your culture. They don't understand your constraints. They don't. I remember years ago, this conversation, someone's like, oh, people should never share passwords. They should never ever share passwords. That's just wrong. And you should just make it policy. And okay, in certain countries, that's fine. If you're in the UK, that's fine. Everyone's quite private and personal about their affairs and everything. But I said, if I went, to India or Pakistan or something, and I said, and my mum or someone comes to me and says, like, give me your phone, what's your password? And I said, I can't tell you because of security. I'm going to get a butter chopper over my head, aren't I?
But she's going to get the latte out, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's certain. So I think even just writing about constraints that you feel, or doing a gap analysis against like what a certain international standard says, and the challenges in implementing it, and trying to figure out what are right ways or wrong ways to go about it. I think even that is just super valuable. So I think it's whatever you want to dive into, you can, and whatever you produce will be of value to someone out there.
Yeah, and but the overarching thing here is be respectful. There's enough toxic people in any community to ruin somebody's day. Don't be one of those people. Be respectful across the board. Now we've got just a few minutes left, and I want to move on to the last point. We talk about this a lot. I think you and I are certainly very passionate about this, about the storytelling aspect. And actually, our whole lives are influenced and we're educated through stories, and the same is very true of InfoSec and the communities that we operate in. So what's your view on the role of storytelling with the community?
I think for me personally, I think it's the absolute underpinning of everything. It's just think of it like this. You go to a talk and there's some young 20-something year old guy there wearing ripped jeans, a cool t-shirt, and he's there and he's saying, look how great I am, and I was able to break into this system, and look at me. Yeah. And okay, technically you might learn a lot. Technically he might be fantastic, but there's an attitude and a story there that doesn't always resonate with people. What's far more useful is like you can explain that same technical process through like the story, which is like, what are the challenges, how you overcame them, what was good about it, how it made you feel, introduce some humanity into it, and some personality into it. And that's what people will remember. They'll remember more about that, and they'll remember you more like that than as opposed to someone, look how great I am, I was able to hack into so-and-so things. And I think BSides being in India, it's a great example. Like you guys have Bollywood over there. That it's one of the best. It's one of the best storytelling machines out there in the world. I mean, when you break it apart, what is a story? It's you can take any Bollywood film. I suppose, like growing up, boy loves girl, parents don't agree, they run away, there's some fighting, and they live happily ever after.
You missed the dancing.
Yeah, you miss the dancing, yeah. But that's not why you go to see a film, is it? It's not because
because you know what to expect.
You know what to expect in that. It's the story. It's like how they meet, how they interact, the dialogue, the songs, the colors, everything. That's what pulls you. It's emotionally, it drags you through. And I think that's something in security we could really learn a lot from that. So if you can, I'm not saying make it all dramatic and have some fights and work out like Salman Khan or anything like that, but make it something that's interesting, make it something that people can feel like they can relate to. And and be inclusive in your stories. I think that really hits home.
Brilliant. I think that comment about the cool T-shirt was definitely directed at me, Jav. I'm afraid to say, mine's not corporate. So anyway, Jav, thank you very much for your time this afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Really appreciate your insights. I hope everybody watching actually has learned something from this, even those who are deeply embedded in the community anyway. So Javvad, thank you very much indeed. And I'll speak to you later, mate.
Thank you so much, Thom. Always a pleasure.
Okay, we are swiftly moving on now to our first session